Welcome back to the lesson again. So in this lesson we're going to learn about debugging a macro. So what is debugging a macro? First off, let's just open up VBA and let you know what debugging is. You can see that there's an option called debug, and you can see that all of the sheets are right over here, and also you can see that there are no modules. That means that your worksheet doesn't have any macro saved in it. So what does debugging do? Sometimes when you record computer data or when you record some computer macros or computer language of the data which you're inserting in Microsoft Excel or whichever software or program you're using, so when it's recording a macro, sometimes it makes some mistakes, okay? So basically what we're going to do first is first off record a macro and then show it all to you. So let's turn on VBA right beside our Excel so that we can see that there would be another file here called modules, which I've shown you basically. So what I'm going to do here is just first off, did we turn on record macro? So we did not. So what we're going to do is just keep this right over here, recording a macro. Now what we're going to do is just maybe align it to the left, and then what we're going to do is underline one of it and change the color. So that will be enough for this lesson. So what we're going to do is now just stop recording the macro. After I stop recording the macro, you can see that there is an option called modules, and you can see that there are some codes right over here. We can also add in more macros. What we're going to do is just add another macro. So what we're going to do next is just create another macro, and I'm going to do is, for this time, I'm going to add in the color of the text. What I'm going to do here is just click on this, or maybe, okay, let's select something like white, okay, so it's more visible. Now I'm going to do is just go to developer and then stop recording it. Now you can see that there are two macros, and I've told you about it, that there are a lot of codes which macro uses or records to script which are totally unnecessary, but we can delete them, or we can just use quotation marks to like make them commenting and then delete it if it's not necessary. So what I'm going to do now is just edit a bit of them and then show you some debugging macro tools. So when you add in a macro, it's quite hard to undo a macro. An example, let it be just this. I'm just going to play it. You can see that there the color has changed back. Okay, so you can't undo it. So you have to be a bit more careful when you're using macro, or what we're going to do is keep some backups, okay, and also keep the backup of the backup. So because the undo option cannot be done while or after you apply a macro. If I add in this macro, what I'm going to do is just play it, and now you can see that this is played. Now what I'm going to do next is, first off, I'm going to just delete this, the unnecessary ones, delete, merge cells, false, keep it deleted. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now what I'm going to do is also change it from here, range. Now what I'm going to do first is let you know how debugging works and what are the tools of debugging in this VBA while using Excel. So when you go to debug, you can see that there are a lot of tools, but you can also keep them right over here in my tab. They don't usually or default be here. So if you don't see these tools right over here, what we're going to do is just click on the right mouse key on this open area. Now what I'm going to do is just click on customize and then go to debug, and then just click on any one you want and then just drag it over here, and you will be able to do it. I already have them here, so I don't have to like drag them again. It will just show the same thing. So what we're going to do is just use any one you want and just drag it over here. Okay, now I have two of them. Now what I'm going to show you first is one of the most important tool, or we can also say that we can run each and every code individually. So how are we going to do that? So first off, what I'm gonna do first is keep it default, or maybe like get another data. So what I'm gonna do is just click here till 2022, copy it, and then make another one. But first, now I'm gonna do is make them or format them. So what I'm gonna do first is just click on it, and then you can see that there's an option called step into. This option or tool helps you to do each macro individually step by step. So when I do this first, I just press sub macro 1. Now I'm gonna do is just click on step into again. So when you press step, so when you just step into this, you will see that the highlighted text skips the commenting, because when you press step into, this will only highlight the text or the codes. Okay, so which are the codes. So when you just press step into again, my bad, not that one, not compile, but step into, and you will see that this text was selected. Now I'm gonna do is step into again. You can see horizontal left. Now they all went left. Okay, nextly what I'm gonna do is, first off, let me just increase this a bit so you get that. Okay, my bad. What I'm gonna do is, first off, Control X, paste it from here. Okay, seems to be much more easier. So what I'm going to do is start up again from the first one so that you can see the basics or see what was actually going on. My bad. Okay, let it be here. What I'm going to do is start off again. Step into, end, my bad. You can see that this is selected. Horizontal left. You can see that this is done. End width. Selection underline. Pattern automatic. Ascent 2. Tint shade. And all of them. Now you can see that the lines which it skipped had nothing to do with it, and there were some also commands which were totally unnecessary. Now I'm gonna do is just click on another macro, which was the second one. So I'm gonna do is do the same thing. Step into, so macro 2. Macro 2 was the name of the macro which I saved next. Step into again. You can also just press on F8. Now what I'm going to do is end width. And now you can see that all of the macros have been individually saved. But you can see that I did the borderline before saving the macro, so you can see that there are no borders, which I used in the previous one. So what I'm going to do is just add in the borders. You can see that this is done, and it has become the same as this one. You can also add in data, an example like texts in your worksheet by using a macro. That's also doable. You just need to add in and record a macro first and then add in the data, so that the macro saves or scripts all of your data and all of the formats which you're doing. So this is how you're gonna use debug macro. Now you will see that there are also a lot of tools which is step out, and you can see that there's an option called step over. You can just skip one of the commands. An example, what I'm going to do next is, first off, I'm just going to end with. Okay, I'm going to just place it over here and then just run the command. It will just run the same type of commands that I've been using, and you can see that this is done. Okay, first off, let's just click here, and now running the command. Okay, so you can see that this has turned into the previous one. Now what I'm gonna do is, before I like step into a command, I'm just gonna skip a lot of things which might be step out. Okay, the step out means you're gonna step out of this macro and you're not gonna use it. Now what I'm gonna do is step in again, and now what I'm gonna do is step over. So it's gonna skip one of the commands. Okay, it's gonna skip the commands, or you will see that nothing might happen, but it did. So this is how you're commenting, stepping in, stepping over. You can also compile data by clicking here, and then what I'm going to do is just step in and then compile one of it, okay, by using this. So this is how debugging works in VBA and Microsoft Excel. It just fixes a lot of things which macro does, and all of the scripting. So try it a couple of times and you will get it. Now let's move on to the next lesson.